It's bigger. It's louder. It's better than ever. This still isn't your typical motorsports podcast. This is the 10th anniversary of Crush This, a monster truck podcast brought to you by J Concepts. For 10 years, your hosts, the monster truck Canucker Brad Shaw and Dan Agosh, have brought you into the minds and personalities of the monster truck industry. Strap in and hold on tight. This is Crush This!
Hey, what's going on? It's Dan Ceejay Rettew from Crush This. Welcome to another episode. This time around, actually, Brad's a little bit under the weather. He had to go to the hospital today. He's recovering pretty well, but he had some sinus infections and stuff like that. Really got to him and stuff like that. So he's gonna be back on hopefully next week, and we'll have him on there. But once again, I also want to thank J Concepts for what they have done for presenting this product of Crush This to the masses. And if you go to Crush This at jconcepts.net, when you check out, get 15% off. So those trucks that are like behind me, like No Problem and the Lone Ranger, are all RC products from J Concepts. The 73 tires, the Ranger body, the Bronco body, and the 66 Gold Years are all part of the J Concepts line. So go there, jconcepts.net, type in Crush This at checkout, and get yourself some of this stuff also. Now, go to our spread shop. Got it right here. Our Crush This podcast hat, t-shirts, stuff like that. Go to our Crush This, a monster truck podcast, myspreadshop.com. Get some cool stuff with that. And enjoy your time and get some, maybe a hoodie, t-shirt, hat, go from there. And also want to give a shout out to Bryce Kenny. Bryce Kenny has his book, Gears for Life, making the shift into your full potential. If you go to amazon.com and type in the book, and it's also, the cool thing is the book is also on Spotify as an audiobook. Bryce actually reads it to you, which is pretty cool. And me and Brad both read it, and we enjoyed the book in its whole entirety. And yes, Mike, we hope Brad will feel better. He's keeping me updated and everything like that. So I do appreciate for Brad, to get better and hang on. And the way he said he had some type of headache and got worse, and I'll just hope for the better for him. And also next week, so we have our guest on for next week. Just want to let everyone know. And she drives the Frostbite, Kelly Kent. She drives the Frostbite in the All-Star Monster Truck Tour, the teammate to the Zimmers and Brett with the Haymaker truck. So he'll be on. She'll be on tonight. Actually, tomorrow, next week. I'm off kilter today, guys. I'm sorry. I had some Panda and I'm pretty full. But so yeah, Brad went ahead and said that. Sorry for not. I'm gonna try to hold down the fort and everything like that. So, and also, we also have our podcast on audio on iTunes and Spotify. But if you don't have that and you follow monstersmonthly.com, follow them. They have our audio and everything ready to go and up to date of each episode. So go ahead there and listen. It's a good time to listen to the podcast through that other platform. So pretty much that's it. We're going to do a commercial break, and we're going to have Ceejay Rettew and just talk about, the 2025 season and all sorts of different stuff too. So we're going to go ahead and get that started. And
are you ready to get in on the action here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel? Look no further. Head over to Facebook where you can sign up for all the great events we host right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Be sure to sign up for the events and register your name and get locked in with a monster truck of your own and get ready for the great thrills and spills right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Again, find us on Facebook, register for these events, and you soon will be competing in all the great events. We hope to see you there and get ready for the wild and crazy action. Be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a beat right here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel.
man, thank you again to Monster Truck Attitude and the Downhill Monster Truck Racing. See them every Thursday night. And also at the end of the month, they have their special for that too. So have to introduce the driver of the Stinger Monster Truck. Man, CJ, how's it going? I know last week you guys started at, I think, in Virginia with the Renegade Monster Truck Tour. Man, how was it? I saw some of the video, and it looked like towards the end, it just looked like it was pouring down rain. And also looked like Steven kind of got a little wild at the end of his run.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great first start to our year. I mean, aside from the rain, we couldn't have asked for a better first event. Clearbrook's always awesome to kick off our first event for Renegade Monster Truck Tour. We got a long summer ahead, but starting a first event is always kind of a make or break for how the season goes typically. But man, everyone, I can't thank the crew guys, the staff, everyone enough for making it the event it was. Everyone was on point. The trucks were dialed in. I mean, we went out and we had a great time. It was awesome. First event was awesome. We picked up both skills wins, which was awesome to come out of the gate and take those right off the bat. But it was a tough lineup of trucks, and they definitely got one heck of a show. Steven definitely went out and laid down some runs, and I mean, kudos to him. He runs that truck into the ground and every week makes sure it's 100%. So always a great guy to run against, but it was a great first event. And
you also have your teammate truck too, Shredder also. And then you guys also had the two of the Throttle Monster trucks. Also, I was with them last week at Enith, and those guys put a hell of a show. You guys been going to Clearbrook for, I think, ever since you guys started with the Renegade show, even prior before that too. It's always been a cool venue. You guys always have top awesome trucks that are there. You know, having that as your guys' first program to start off the season, it's kind of like a little bit like having your own Daytona 500.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great event. You know, there's always kind of one or two events throughout the year that you really look forward to going, just because you've done it for so long. And I mean, the main ones is obviously the Buck hometown track, our track, Montgomery County Fair in Gaithersburg. It's pretty much like Renegade's World Finals. I mean, we have 8 trucks, and every single time we go out there, we all put everything on the line and just give it 100%. So Clearbrook is no different. I've driven there every time we've went, and it's an awesome experience. The fans there are great. It's a great little facility with tons of history. I mean, the first year we were there, I was just talking to some people behind the scenes, and the amount of history there with the trucks and drivers, it was awesome. And you had brought up Throttle Monster too. Those guys definitely deserve some credit. I mean, they go out there and make sure their trucks are 100% ready to go. Carson and Cliff, they're awesome drivers. It was great to get to compete with them, and they're staying at the shop right now. So, you know, since they're from Utah, they don't really have a place to go right now. It's awesome to have them staying with us. And, you know, it's all fun and games out on the track, and when the helmet's going, it's definitely competition, but the laughs we've shared behind the scenes is awesome as well.
And, you know, we're looking at your current new look of your Stinger truck. I know the last couple of years you've been going with the square body Chevy look. For every single time you try to come up with a new look for the Stinger truck, do you see something that catches your eye, or do you plan on going, okay, I'm going to go back to, what my dad drove back in the Monster Jam days in 2018, 2017, or you try to go, okay, that's pretty cool, looking square body. I'm going to try that instead.
Yeah, it's always something different. I don't want to be one of those people that debuts a new look and a new body every year. Eventually I feel like sometimes you get to the point that you just start mashing stuff together and it's not quality. And I think I finally found my look for a while. The square body OBS was one of my favorites. The only issue with that is we have plastic bedsides we run, but we can only get them in the Raptor design. So I didn't want to, piece those together with the OBS body and it looked weird. So we just decided it would be best to go back to the Raptor. But I wanted to put a little bit of my own twist on it. And, Dad had the white version. And now that I've pretty much taken it over full time, I just wanted to have my own, little twist on it to call my own. And when we made the truck with the OBS in the tail, we decided to go with a black design instead. And then when we switched back to the Raptor, I was like, why don't we just stick with that? Because it looks pretty clean in my opinion, and it definitely just gives me my own little bit of a personality. I eventually do want to branch off and kind of start my own identity. I have some things in the work, and not really anytime soon, but when the time's right, I'd love to bring up my own identity and my own design.
I know you guys came out with the shredder truck that was, I think, beginning of last year, which you and your dad did some first quarter stuff, I think, with the Monster Truck Nitro Tour or the Monster X. We know who they are. Yeah. So getting with that, let's go take a break with the, knowing about the identity of, Shredder. How did that come about? And did you always want a second truck like the past, or did you always wanted to have maybe a little bit of a single truck team?
So in the past year, it's been really back and forth with me personally. We had first brought up the idea of building a second truck again. We had to sell off some of the trucks just because there was so many of them to take care of with taking on the Buck, and we just weren't going to be able to make it work. It was just too much going on at one time, and we decided it was best to sell them off. And we didn't really have any plans to build another truck. But once we got everything kind of under our belt and going smoothly, Dad missed driving a little bit, and he had walked into the shop one day and he's just like, I think it's about time we build another truck because I'm ready to hop back in the seat. And I'm like, I'm all for it. Let's go. And when we built it, he had asked if I wanted to keep Stinger and he was going to make his own identity, or if he wanted to take back Stinger, he wanted me to let him have Stinger back and I would build my own identity. And I, at the time, was so, and I still am, like, I always want it to run. And even if we ever go back to one truck, it always will be the truck that we run. I wanted to keep Stinger just so I can keep the name going and keep it the way it was, and just let him have a little bit more fun with his own truck. And he had decided that he always wanted to call the truck Shredder. He didn't know what he wanted it to look like. He didn't know what he was going to make it, the color scheme or anything, but he knew he wanted to call it Shredder. So we had went down to Rick and Ryan down at the metal shop, who we've been with for a couple of years now, and they're absolutely awesome. And we just gave him the idea that, Dad, obviously we roll over a lot. Like we run our stuff pretty hard, and Dad didn't want to have to deal with fiberglass damage. So for anyone that doesn't know, Shredder's actually a sheet metal body, and it has probably 15 rollovers on it now, and you can barely tell. I mean, there's a little bit of dings and dents here and there, and some of the paint's wore off, but I mean, for having that many rollovers on it, it's held up awesome.
Yeah, and then you have Joe driving that truck a lot too. Nice seeing him. He drove previously the Bailey Tamed. And one thing that's been on my mind, I think I saw this post, I think the end of last year. And you talked about, which I think is a very good subject for people to think about in the monster truck world, is the on the fence of being burned out, or on the fence of just, Dennis talks about it when he was about to give up on Gravedigger, stuff like that. And I really caught that because I really feel sometimes the same way. I don't know the pressure of what you have to taking over a whole team, but I mean, doing my fair share of work on with a team, you always get that point of, I'm just getting tired, or, or the mistakes that you made always becomes a burden. And, you know, I wanted to talk about that because, you're religious, and that's cool. I mean, I'm like that too. And it sounded like you had to do a lot of prayer and a lot of talk. Um, you know, but you came out through, and you started out the 2025 season. You have a crew. You did that post also, but talk about, last year. You said you had some rough times, but you overcame that.
Yeah. So, and before I even get into this, like, I'm not really looking for anyone to feel bad for me. Like,
No.
it's not anything like that. It definitely is tough, whether you're my age running a monster truck or you are in your 20th year driving a monster truck. Everyone, has a breaking point when they get stressed down or can't handle things. And last year, and I'm not trying to blame anyone. I mean, a lot of it was my fault. I was 17, didn't really know what I was doing. Being a manager and trying to take the team on. And I was really bad at managing my time and, getting things done to the quality of work that they needed to be. Because one thing I've definitely found out, even just from last week, like, I don't think there was one time last year I can remember that my truck drove into the trailer. And that was either because I wasn't doing work that I should have been to keep the trucks up and running the way they needed to be, or is because I was going out and trying to just drive the truck into the ground every single show. And between that and at the time, I was trying to blame everyone else for the things that was going on. It really burned me out. And, I'm 17, 18 now, and everyone's like, oh, you have it easy. You drive monster trucks. It must be so cool. But at the end of the day, like, what most people don't understand and that I have to explain is, like, I had to sacrifice a lot growing up to get to where I am. And yeah, I definitely had it easier than a lot of people that get into the industry. I understand that. But the way I've pretty much been putting it the past couple of weeks is, when we all come into the world, we're all given a deck of cards in a way. And each person gets a separate deck of cards. And some people are lucky, some people aren't. And it just so happened that I was lucky enough to be put in an opportunity where I had an opportunity, but I had to work for it. And I chose to take it and run with it. And I worked my whole life to get to where I am, sacrificing sports at school, hanging out with people on the weekend, doing anything normal teenagers really want to be doing. I was in the shop working. I wasn't really hanging out with many people. I was trying to be by everyone's side, just learning as much as I can and what it takes, and just so I can get the opportunity to take the team over one day and start driving a truck. And I mean, a lot of people look at it still and they're like, well, your dad just gives you everything. But I mean, and I don't want this to kind of come off wrong, but again, back to the deck of cards thing. I mean, we're each given a separate stack, and you can't tell me that if you weren't in the situation I was, that you wouldn't take it. I mean, I'm not just going to leave it on the table. I understand that, I definitely had it easier, but I still had to work for it. And so going back to last year, it was rough. I didn't know really how to manage people or get work done the quality I needed it to be. And I mean, every weekend, my truck was being thrown in the trailer, and it was stressful weeks of working till 11 or 12 trying to get the truck ready to go just so we could get it to the show. And then when we got to the show, we still had to finish working on the stuff, and everyone else's trucks are sitting there all pretty shined up, ready to go, and we're still fixing stuff and putting things together, and it was not great. So I actually I didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was going to go on with the team, and I made the decision before the last event of the year. This was after Wildwood, that I pretty much said I was quitting, but I knew I wasn't. I was just taking a step back. I mean, I needed to go and just take time to myself and decide how I was going to handle this and if it was even something I wanted to do. So I went and got, for the first time ever, a job somewhere else outside of the family business, and I worked at a scrapyard for a couple of months, and it was different, but in a good way. I learned a lot of skills, and I can't thank my bosses there enough for everything they taught me. I learned a lot of skills on how to be a good boss and manager, and giving people time off when they need it, and taking a break, and even simple stuff like if we're going to work until 7 o'clock, we need to be done at 6:30 and get the shop cleaned up and organized. And then we had decided that we were going to go forward with the team this year. So I had quit there and came back to the team, and I didn't look back. I'm for the future now, and we completely reorganized the trailer, got the trucks fixed with all the stuff that we rigged up last year that really should have been fixed at the time. Got the trucks back where they need to be, and it wasn't just for me. I owed it to my team. There's guys on our team. No one is really full time. They have normal jobs, and they come along on the weekends to have fun. And it wasn't fun for them, being tired from their regular jobs, showing up and having a wrench on trucks because I, who was supposed to be taking care of them, wasn't. So I owed it to them, and we're definitely trying to make a change. And Clearbrook was a great start.
And you, before you did Clearbrook, Virginia, you did post about your crew and how one of them was your friend for a long time, and a lot of I always say you have good friends that are going to stand by your side no matter what, thick and thin. There's a lot of guys in the monster truck world right now that show up to a show and it's just by themselves, or someone else, you find someone else to help them out and stuff like that. But like you said, your crew, they're part-time, but they're there for the long run. And I know you talked about that on another post also, and talk about a little bit about your crew.
Yeah. So the two I mentioned in that post, they're the same age as me. We're all 17, 18. And we're all still in school right now. We're all graduating this year. And the plan right now is that they are going to come on full time. Evan picked up pretty quickly. I call him my twin. I mean, him and I are pretty much the same person. He picked up on things so quick, and he is one hell of a mechanic and so knowledgeable. And even if he doesn't stick around with us for years and years and years, no matter what he does, like he's gonna do great things, and he has the ability to do pretty much anything. Same way with Jacob. I mean, I've known him since kindergarten. He's always been fascinated by anything with an engine and wheels and goes vroom. And so he's back with us. He worked with us a little bit in 2023, took a break when the team wasn't doing great, but he's back now. And then, the guys I was talking about with their regular jobs, Art, I know he's watching right now, Andy, and then my grandpa, Charlie. Charlie has an auto shop, so he's working every day, all day long, and then still finds time to come over and help us out in the shop. Andy actually just started up his own business. He buys and sells parts to people and goes and helps them fix pretty much anything they need help fixing, vehicles. And then Art, he's actually a math teacher. So, they all are involved in different things, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what time it is, we can count on them to be there and help us out. And that's really part of the reason why I felt so bad last year when it finally popped into my head, like, these guys don't have to be here helping you. but they are. And I mean, they're not being treated the best.
Well, we're going to get back to actually the conversation I'd like to know between you and your dad on when he was going to give the team over to you. We're going to thank one more sponsor here, and then we'll back to that little fun questionnaire. So here we go. So with your dad purchasing a few years back the Buck, and getting that all now becoming still a historical venue for tractor pulling, monster trucks, anything motorsports related wise. When did it start becoming a way that your dad must have saw something in you, like you said with the cards, to take over something that he built from the ground up? I remember you're a really young kid, but I remember seeing your team and your dad at Youngstown, Ohio, back in I think in 2012, when you guys had the V Cradle Randy Barton Stinger truck with the F-150 body on it with the Stinger tail, and he seemed like he rode over that thing every single weekend at the Toughest Monster Truck Tour. But working all that to becoming a one of the really popular trucks still today, but going the Monster Jam, becoming one of the trucks that you would see in the Monster Jam tour with him and Master of Disaster. Then when COVID hit, created the Renegade Empire. You had different trucks from all sorts of old school names to different names in general. But like you said, you had to sell a couple trucks and stuff like that. But when would you still remember the talks of him, or did you plant the seed of trying to say I can take the ball and run on this monster truck program? Because I know your dad was always busy, even with the Buck in his plate.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny. It was completely different. It was before we had I was still working at my other job, and I mean, after Wildwood, I was not in the shop one time until the beginning of January. I was just, every time I walked in there, I was kind of stressed out, just thinking of everything and the way I was, and it felt like a bad place. So I tried to kind of stay out of there. And so even before all of this, like a year ago, I didn't think it was ever going to happen until I was like 23, 24, 25, maybe. So my 18th birthday came around in December, and I wasn't expecting anything pretty big. And I got to my last gift, and he's like, "You got to open this one last." And I'm like, "Oh, must be something good." It was pretty small though. It was just, papers like this, which I hadn't known yet. And I opened it up, and it was like an envelope with a bunch of like papers and stuff in it. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? I just didn't understand it. And then he actually started crying a little bit, and that's when I knew something was up. And he had told me that I was being let in on the business, and I was going to have a percentage of the stake now. And I was pretty much speechless. With the way things had ended, I didn't really think that I had deserved it, but I think he saw and knew that I was changing and I was ready to fix things for the better. And I couldn't be more stoked. I mean, it definitely has been a rough couple of months getting going, but I think now that we're back up to where we are supposed to be as far as the working on truck side of things and taking care of them, I think it's going to be pretty smooth sailing from here.
Man, that's pretty cool that like you said, you went through the whole trailer. You went through, so, now he's basically, so the whole team itself is you're going to be the last one that has the last word on what the truck's going to do, or booking wise, stuff like that, and parts and,
Uh,
or,
I'm not there yet.
okay.
Right now I just have a little bit more money stake in it, a little bit more say. But I do. So right now, I mean, we're still running with Renegade full time, and until we know, we can't really judge it off one weekend. But until we know that we're ready to go and we have this thing up and running, and we're going to be back to the team that we used to be. Don't really have any plans right now to run for anyone else. But as far as like managing and stuff goes, I have pretty much taken over the maintenance, repairs, driving ordeals. So I mean, he's so busy with making sure the shows are actually happening with Renegade. He doesn't really have time to work on anything or any of that. So I take care of everyone in the shop. We make sure that the trucks are repaired, fixed, washed, ready to go, loaded in the trailer. The parts are restocked, and that we show up ready to go, looking presentable. And I mean, he really hasn't had to touch much on the trucks in like a month. There's been a little couple things here and there. I mean, a few things like setting the distributor, or timing a motor, changing fuel, stuff like that. That's a little more technical, and I'm not there yet. Just because I don't want to mess something up, blow up a brand new motor. That'd be pretty expensive. But I've pretty much taken over the managing duties of the race team itself.
So you still I know we're going to talk about the buck here also, and how your dad changed all that around. Now it's a single, from a single to now a dual lane pulling track. Do you still help out with that too, or is it kind of like he relies on you with the monster truck team, but you still help out at the track?
Definitely. I mean, it's all family business. There's really no time to stop. We're full steam ahead 24/7, and if we have a really busy schedule this year, it might not seem like we're busy every weekend with the monster trucks, but that's because if we're not busy with the monster trucks, we're probably back home at the racetrack. I bet we have every bit of 60 to 70 shows this year, if not a little bit more, between both companies. And there's actually a couple of times that we are doing a show pretty close to home, no more than like 3 hours, and the show's a little bit farther ahead of schedule. So once the show is over, we're actually going to pack up the monster trucks and all of that, while the crew back at the Buck has the track being prepped and ready to go. And then once we get on the road, we're going to get back to the Buck as quickly and as safely as we can. And then we're actually just going to park the rig and not worry about it until Monday. And we're going to hop out and we're going to go help the track crew at the Buck.
Man, and it's there, like you said, 60 events and everything mixture. I know you have 3 monster truck shows there. Tractor
4.
pulling galore. 4?
Yeah, we have 1 in May, June, August, and October.
Holy cow! And then you guys have a lot of sanctioned pulling groups that come over to the Buck too, don't you?
Yeah. Mostly it's all places around us, but we have 4 monster truck shows. I know we have 2 rodeos, 6 demolition derbies, at least 4 or 5 truck pulling events, and then we also have a pickup power fest, which is pretty much anyone around us who wants to show off their truck and thinks it makes a lot of power. They can come to the Buck and they can drag race each other to figure out who actually has the biggest truck and the best truck. We have so many other events other than that. I can't really think of them off the top of my head, but it's nuts.
That track has its legendary status too. I remember your dad was talking about the opportunity of getting it, and you couldn't miss it. And for this year's Renegade Tour that's coming up, you just got done with Clearbrook, but there's so many other venues going to be seen there. What are you looking forward to this season?
There's a couple of places. Renegade, we mostly do smaller venues, so we don't really get to run the trucks to their fullest potential. And I'm seeing people out here every weekend, and I don't need to be doing this right now. Obviously, like I'm happy with what I can get. But, you know, all these guys out there on the stadiums and stuff just flying through the air. And I got a little hint of that last year at the Buck. I jumped over my dad's truck and hit the ramp way harder than I needed to, and I probably could have cleared him by 4 or 5 truck lengths. I'm really looking forward to Marietta in 2 weeks. That's a pretty big venue. It's going to be awesome. We got great trucks there. That's going to be fun. Every Buck event is awesome. You know, if the truck holds together, it will not be together by the end of the night. Everyone I know is there from school, family, sponsors. You know, they all come to watch, and it doesn't matter what is going on. We're going to make sure that we get the truck back on the track, even if it isn't running 100%. You know, the way it showed up, we're going to get it back together as quickly as we can, so we can at least go on and make a couple of hits, and even if it's a couple of hits where we roll over, it's worth it just to make it out on the track for them. And then, like I said earlier, Gaithersburg is a huge one, and I'm really looking forward to Wildwood. I got a lot of redeeming to do for myself from there last year. I didn't make it past best trick either show, so I'm really looking forward to going out there.
So you talked about rolling over quite often last year, and then learning from it this year. When you have your truck, and did you try to minimize rollovers? Because I know a lot of guys, they'll tuck or tight the body to the cage really, really tight, and then when they roll over, the body won't dismantled like if it's stuck out like a traditional truck body. So when you're getting ready for this year, was there a lot of different changes you wanted to do to the truck because of you understanding how you performed last year? That I know you were talking about you kind of changed your style this year, but still, I mean, just learning about what you did last year and put that to use for this year.
Not really as far as like cosmetics for the trucks. It's still the same body I had on last year. I mean, I talked about it a little bit earlier. I think we're one of the only people that do it actually. Our bedsides are plastic. So, and the main reason we do that is because, you get a past vertical wheelie or something, they fold down. If it's fiberglass, it's going to snap in half and break. And then you got to put more bolts in it. It doesn't look great. Whole 9 yards. So we do that, and if they get dismantled or messed up a little bit, we literally just unbolt them and lay them out in the sun for a couple of hours, and it'll warm up and then pretty much form back to how it was. But other than that, it was pretty much just changing the way I drive. I don't feel like, just from this past weekend, I didn't feel like I drove any different. I still felt like I drove pretty hard, but I drove a lot smarter. Last year I was like cross-threading stuff pretty hard and not lining up for it or hitting it wide open. And I can still drive as hard as I want to as long as I'm playing it smarter and not hitting stuff wide open when I shouldn't be. Got me in some trouble last year a couple of times because I'd be lined up for a jump sideways, and when I shouldn't have been hitting it as hard as I did, I would, and then we'd end up with a housing ripped down of the truck.
Man. Yeah, I saw a couple of videos of that. You probably had your own highlight reel last year, doing all the sorts of, but the way it goes is you probably wanted to drive what you would have saw as a fan. I think a lot of people think of that way. When you're driving a monster truck, you're like, I want to see what I would like to do, and you just do it. And was the changing, like you said, you're changing your driving style a little bit smarter, not doing less, going 0 to 100 really fast, the way that goes, you kind of, I would say this, gives you some time to think, right?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I want to drive like I would want to be there in the show watching it. I haven't been to a monster truck show to watch in a very, very long time. And I definitely want to make sure that when we leave, the fans are satisfied, even if, other trucks break and they didn't feel like they got the show they wanted. I want to make sure that I can go out and kind of pick up the pace a little bit and make sure that they left with feeling like their money was well spent. They work very hard throughout the week to be able to pay and come and watch us and spend money on merchandise and stuff. And I don't want them leaving, feeling like they shouldn't have come and they should have went to like, Hershey Park or something. But at the same time, there's a certain point when it doesn't become fun for the drivers, and you kind of got to find a balance point there. If you're not having fun, it's not going to be a good, you're not going to get along with a lot of people, and you're just always going to have a chip on your shoulder. And a lot of that kind of happened last year because I was driving so hard and I couldn't figure out what the issue was. I thought I was having fun, but I was having fun for the 30 seconds I spent cartwheeling down the track. And once I got out of the truck and saw the damage and all the late nights I had to work and get the truck ready to go, it became not fun very quickly. And I had the most fun driving this past weekend, more fun than I've had in a very long time. And a lot of that was just because the truck loaded itself, like we loaded it in the trailer. It drove in without the help of a wheel loader or anything. And I walked away with one broke shock Heim joint. Every once in a while, I feel like it's okay to get a little crazy and have more damage. But at the end of the day, as long as the fans are happy and they walk away feeling like they were satisfied, they don't need a crazy crash to leave and be like, man, that was a great show. If you go out there and lay down an awesome freestyle run or a great skills run, they're not even going to be thinking about that you should have been wrecking the truck or rolling it over or cartwheeling it or anything, because they're going to be focused on the great run that you just had. So I definitely think it's finding a balance point, and that's a lot of what I'm trying to do this year.
And it looked like the video that was for show one, you start off pretty well. You won a skills competition, and doing the skill wise, when you're prepping that and you're going to do a nose wheelie and stuff like that, now it's starting to become, like a song and dance for you, you know what I mean? And, still getting that kind of, the situation that you bounce back from. It had to be feeling pretty good getting that first win under your belt, getting, the mental game that you had cleared out and ready to go for 2025.
100%. I mean, the first show, I actually just had a conversation with Bryce Kenny the other night about this, about getting nervous. And I don't really get nervous much. If I'm at the Buck and it's high stakes, I'll get nervous, or a big new show like Wildwood, I'll get a little nervous. But the first show of the year, I always get nervous. And I was joking around with some people back in the pit area, and I'm just like, man, I don't even know if I'm going to go out and try a moonwalk. I don't know if I still have it. And my girlfriend, she was like laughing, and I'm like, what's so funny? And she's like, dang well that you're going to go out. It's going to be like riding a bicycle, and you're not even going to think about it. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. And, pulling out onto the track and lining up for the first jump of the year, it was setting the tone for everything. And it went up so easy. And I had it up there for almost a minute, just walking it back and forth. And it was awesome. I was having a great time, and I'm pretty excited for what this year has to come.
And we talked about him. He had a wild wreck at the end of the weekend, but how cool seeing Steve Thompson back behind the wheel of Hurricane Force. When back in the 2010s and stuff like that, he was rocking that with Tim Mente, and now he has his own flagship truck, kind of in the same position as you are now. He's taking over a previous. He's starting his own team. He has his own team, but kind of taking it over. And how cool was it seeing him behind the wheel again in his own truck?
It's awesome. I grew up pretty much most of my life being around Steven, and he's definitely someone I look up to as a driver and a person. He's just a very level-headed, humble person, and always great to talk to, and just love being around him. And there was a time there where he didn't really have a seat in his own truck or his own identity. And then when he made his comeback, I did one show with him last year, and I also drove with him once before. I think it was my first time. He drove Taurus at the Nitro Tour. But I'm kind of a fan sometimes in my own head where I'm like, I grew up around this guy, watching him do all this crazy stuff, and now I'm here competing against him, and it was an awesome feeling.
We're gonna ask a few more questions, and then see if there's any of you folks have any questions for CJ. But we're gonna do our last commercial break, and then we'll get back to it, guys. So, also someone mentioned what was pretty cool is we also saw kind of earlier this year or kind of last year, Wayne's Towing stepped up and became a huge sponsor for the race team. I know they sponsor a lot of stuff in the connection with your dad and stuff like that, but having them with the long-term relationship that you and your family have with Wayne's, it has to be, pretty cool to have.
Yeah, it's awesome. They definitely are one of our biggest sponsors. And the thing a lot of people ask me about too is like, yo, how much money are you getting from sponsorships and stuff? And it's not like that. We have very few sponsors on the side of our trucks, and it's because they help us in different sorts of ways. And Wayne and Kim are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. Most respectful. I love them so much. And they really helped me kind of be able to do what I love. When we were making the transition from Delaware to PA again, coming back home, I wanted to do some shows. I just drove 2 or 3 times in the monster truck for my first time in Stinger, and I was amped up. I didn't want to wait until April. I wanted to, get some shows under me now, but we didn't have a place to work, and they don't have a ton of room because they have a towing yard, but they let us use a little bit of room that they did have and park the semi there and use up their shop and work on the trucks for a couple of weeks to be able to let me go out and do what I loved. And I'll never really be able to repay them for that, but and just everything they've done for us and been there for me on personal level, or just checking in and making sure that I'm okay. But it was pretty special to us last year to be able to give them their own truck and go out there and support them. And we're going to be bringing it back again. It'll be at one of the monster truck shows at the Buck this year, and I'm going to make sure we did last year. We made sure they got a heck of a show and got some wins for them to represent them well, and we're going to make sure we do it again this year.
Looks like someone here, they said, let's see here. This is what, I guess they made the fire suit ready for you.
Oh, I think they're talking about in the game. And
okay. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I made more. Okay, there we go. I didn't see the top. That like the screen was cut off, and I was like, "Oh, we got a person making a fire suit." And then you said that, and I looked up, and I was like, "Oh, my bad." Let's see here. Well, we got our first question. Ghost Truck 845 said, "What with the time that you have, what do you do with your time off?"
I don't really have a lot of time off anymore. But when I do, I like to get on and play games. Just relax and get home and take a break from reality. Most of the time, though, I end up playing monster trucks in some other game. It's just what I love to do, whether it's in a game or it's in real life. Um, he is actually one of the people I play with, Mr. Andrew. But aside from that, it's kind of great to. I'm glad he brought this up. It's kind of great to have interactions like that too, because I've made some friends, playing video games that they're huge monster truck fans too, but have actually become some of my closest friends. And it's awesome to kind of have that connection and sometimes even just be like, yo, what do you think about this? Yeah, that's my brother.
I'm the same way. I mean, I'm a huge monster truck fan. I still am. I'm an old school guy. I even do the RC stuff, and I play Beam and G. And when we did the video game convention last weekend, we brought the Beam and G to the people, and they learned about it, and they loved it. And they also got in and sign up and stuff like that. The way the connection is, and I have friends that are through here because that's where I came from. And cool knowing that you're a fan also. Even though I think it's been a long time since even you and myself, I haven't bought a ticket for a monster truck show. It's been quite a few times. People are like, I had to pay this and that. I'm like,
well, even like something a lot of people are surprised about. I've never been to a stadium show before. I've been to all kinds of shows. I've never been to a Monster Jam stadium show. I went to Vegas one time when we were there, but I do not consider that a stadium show. Considering the circumstances, that is.
You're talking about going like to Landover or Baltimore, Philadelphia type.
Never been to a stadium show. I'm planning to get out to one soon. I have a lot of friends on. I think they're on Stadium Tour West right now. That I want to meet eventually and meet up with them and just sit down and talk. But never been to a stadium show before.
Man, you got to plan on doing that. I know they're doing one in Pittsburgh in May, but that's pretty busy season for you. The thing is when it's off season for you, it's wintertime and it's arenas. You know what I mean? That's the downfall about being in the northeastern part of the United States is the time to see something that way is going to be busy time for what you're going through, and unless they build a stadium with a dome over it. But sooner or later you'll have your chance. That'd be cool if your first stadium is the first time you drove, in a stadium show. Never say never, you never know. But we have another question here. Actually, off topic, I also saw on your Facebook that you got some new shoes for your truck and new rims and shoes. Now, I always wonder, because it's a GMC truck, correct?
Yeah.
You don't see this a lot, and there's a lot less than Rams, is you don't get to see any GMC monster trucks. Was that ever an idea for you to do a GMC truck? Because, I prefer outside, not being biased, outside Rams, I think GMCs look 10 times better than a standard Chevrolet and looks better than a Ford. I think their trucks are really, really good looking. And I'm very surprised that there isn't a monster truck out there with the current GMC body on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely crossed my mind, and a lot of people have been like, yo, why don't you make a body for the monster truck out of your pickup truck? And I have thought about it before, but then I get sidetracked onto something else, so we kind of don't have time. It's crossed my mind, but at the same time, there's so many, since they're pretty much the same company. Obviously, GMC is their higher quality company, but they use the same body styles on both trucks. So the only big difference, in my opinion, would just be the logo or the brand that's on the front of it.
The front clip. I don't know. I think the GMC truck looks. I think they did something different to the front clip compared to the Chevys, but it would be cool to see one. That Tim tells me stories of back in the day when he had Executioner, and he talked about how there was an 8-truck field, and obviously they say they have 2 Fords. Obviously, you know what 2 Fords are going to be there. That team out of St. Louis, and then you had Gravedigger, Carolina Crusher, Equalizer, and then Jack Woolman would call them and be like, hey, how many Chevys are going to be there? Okay, me and Executioner is going to be GMCs. So they take the front clip off and they put a GMC front clip, and then you have your GMC and Chevy and Ford type deal. But to me, that'd be pretty cool to see back and running. But we have one question from Monster Trucks Virginia. He says, hey, CJ, I saw this past weekend in Clearbrook, show 1. I have a question for you. During the event, you won your race against Kamikaze, but couldn't return. Did you break something?
Yeah, so I never really do turning course racing before, because we've always done straight lines. So it was awesome to be able to do turning course Chicago style. And I got Cliff Turner round 1, and the track was so tacky and hard. And coming around the first turn, I actually hiked the truck up and kind of sidewalled it a little bit and almost flipped it over. And doing that, I ended up breaking a Heim off the bottom of the shock. I still ended up finishing the pass and winning. But when we got back to the pits, we realized it was broke. And I didn't want to run with just 3 shocks on the back for my own safety and just for everyone else's safety. So we ended up swapping the shocks out and just missing out on racing, making sure we could get back out for freestyle.
And then he also asked again, also, if you ever plan on doing a point series where you think where you want to start, seeing yourself sticking with indies such as All-Star or Toughest, or is your main goal getting Stinger back in Monster Jam?
A little bit of both. I mean, I definitely eventually, even if it's not a full point series, I do want to do a couple Monster Jam events, just to say I did. I don't really think I would want to do it full time for 5, 6, 7 years on end. I'd want to have some breaks in there just because it gets pretty intense sometimes. And I mean, not much changes with the tracks or anything like that. And I mean, it's all pretty small stuff unless you're lucky enough to get on the stadiums.
Doing 4 show weekends, 5 show weekends. Sometimes it's
I mean, it's aside from being rough on equipment. I mean, it takes a toll on you. I mean, I watched my dad. He was having fun, but it definitely beat him down. And kind of once he took a step back and started doing his own stuff, he was like, man, going from 4 or 5 show weekends to 2 shows and packing up and being home Sunday night or Sunday morning was crazy. So I don't really want to get burnt out. I want to switch it up a little bit, but eventually in the next couple of years, I definitely am looking. I got my eyes set on either running with All-Star. They're a great promotion and company, and I've been keeping up with the point series, and we're definitely running with Toughest.
Toughest started off the same kind of years that your dad did too. So I mean, your dad and your team is kind of Toughest OGs. I mean, same thing with Toxic and get Stinger and Bigfoot back together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your brother also mentioned, he's saying, what was your favorite truck or driver you have ran with?
Oh, there's been so many. I mean, one person I can think of that going into the weekend I was pretty excited for was to run with Zimmer and Gardner when I did an all-star show back in, I think it was 2023, 2022 now. Was pretty excited going into that. Again, kind of.
Was that Lake Erie?
Yeah. No, it was Jennerstown.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say, you guys were really regulars at the Lake Erie Speedway show.
Yeah. Again, kind of going back, didn't have my stuff in order, and we ended up having a bunch of flat tires, and I wasn't even able to compete the first event at all, which bummed me out, but I did it to myself, and it sucked. I mean, I was disappointed in myself. But then the second show, I was actually able to win racing at that event, and it really, it felt good. It was awesome to run with them. I think about this all the time, but off the top of my head, I can't really think of anyone. But, I mean, most people I compete with, if if going into it I don't really know him, or actually no, I do know. RJ Turner and War Wizard. Him and I have so much fun running together. It's not even it's awesome. Like I never really talked to him before growing up. We did some shows, but I never really remembered him much. And then we did a show for Monster Truck Nitro Tour last year, and showed up, and he just walked up to me and we started talking and joking around, and we lined up for racing, and I was having a little bit of truck issues, so I was trying to drop out of racing just so the truck could cool down and have time for freestyle so I could be out longer. But I guess at the same time, he was trying to do the same thing, and he ended up winning, and then came back to the pit area, and he was like, I see what's going on here. But it's been great. They're awesome to run with. Him and Allison both love running with them. They're awesome behind the scenes out on the track. It's always a fun time.
Any social media people can follow you at, and when is the next race for you?
Facebook, just my name, Ceejay Rettew. Instagram is C_Rettew20. And next show will be this coming weekend in Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Normally, Gaithersburg is kind of towards that. I remember having that show towards the end of the year. And guys, I know you guys made that a big event.
Yeah, so we actually, that show, the fair has us come in and we put the event on during the fair. We ended up starting to rent the facility out in April and doing a second event, far enough away that it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
So they're both Renegade events, but the one in August is pretty much kind of ran by the fair. They hire us in and we take care of the show. The one in April, we take care of everything ourselves.
Now, my last question. Oh, we'll do two of them here, so it'll be a 2-question thing. What's the biggest independent? Holy cow! All right, now we're getting crap load of questions. Well, you're willing to answer some of these?
Yeah, I'm all for it. Okay. I'm here.
All right. Now, your brother asked again. What is your favorite driver or inspiration growing up that wasn't your dad? Was there someone that you looked to, got excited when you knew a show was coming? I'm picturing Dan Runte, but
well, it's funny you said that. Was actually another Bigfoot driver, Larry Swim.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, growing up, he was always open arms to me, and always, he was kind of like a second dad to me in a way. If he was there, I was pretty much running away from our trailer, and I was going over to help him all the time growing up. And there's actually a picture of me. I was probably 6 or 7. I had my little red earmuffs on, and I was inside the tire, and he let me help him tire up. And I would pretty much do that all the time. When we showed up and Larry was there as a little boy, I would literally hop out of the rig if he was unloading, and I would run over and make sure I would help him load up, and pretty much would just say, forget dad. But definitely Larry Swim. And I was lucky enough to be at his retirement show. Didn't even find out until that day that was going to be his last show, but it was a pretty special thing to be able to be there for it.
Let's see here. Monster Truck Virginia also says, what's the biggest independent event that you haven't done but want to do? I'm thinking like Virginia Beach or,
Man, I don't know. That's kind of a tough one. I mean,
Mount Pleasant.
Yeah. I mean, Mount Pleasant's a good one. There's another one I'm thinking of. I can't really get it. Miami too. That's always a stacked lineup, and I would love to go. I mean, any of the map shows, they're pretty huge events.
I could see you go full tilt boogie in a map show.
Yeah,
that's probably one of the shows that you're probably gonna take that truck in the basket.
Yeah. I would definitely have to tone myself down on skills and racing, but freestyle. I mean, I would love to run to Miami or I mean, Mount Pleasant would be fun too.
Let's see here. Let's read here. A lot of people say the moonwalk that you had was pretty cool. He's gonna try to attend the Brookville, PA show. He says you got another one, gamer one. He said, "Hey CJ, you said you have friends you knew, I guess, Zach Garner, if you had that conversation to join Monster Jam, will it be the same thing? How it handled, like, I guess he's talking about how, if you got into Monster Jam, how would that handle for you? I think it'd be pretty easy for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not by any means saying that I'm going to go out there and win.
Right, but I mean, I'm talking about, like, you'd be there, you would make it to every single element. You would do the moonwalks and the stoppies, and you would run hard against everyone, and then put on a good freestyle. Like you said, the tracks are always repetitive every single week, but I mean, with the training that you have with the Renegades and your monster truck thing, I personally think it'd be easy for you to transition over.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the biggest thing getting used to is having the pressure of the big names in the industry. I mean, they don't get much bigger than Gravedigger or Toro Loco, some of the big guys that are up there. I think the transition would be pretty easy. I mean, the biggest part of it is just learning the track and what the track's going to do. I mean, you can't really look at it from a brand standpoint because, in my opinion, most independent shows that you go to, like Toughest or Monster Truck Throwdown, I mean, their tracks are pretty stout too, and give the fans just as much of a good show. So it pretty much just comes down to what the track is looking like and where you're at.
Probably that's probably the hardest thing to get used to is those arenas where they have dashers and like some of the shows that you're running in Renegade, there's pretty good distance between where you're doing your stoppie and moonwalk to the first person that's there. And then Monster Jam, you're pretty much, well, you had a couple arenas that you had during the last first quarter that was tight knit, like I think one in Georgia, and Albany, Georgia, I think was one of them. But still, I think what you probably agree that probably the hardest thing to get used to is probably some of the arenas.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done probably like 7 or 8 arenas, and they're fun. They're not really my thing. I mean, I still would have fun on it, like no matter what. Like it's driving a monster truck, gonna have fun. If I can't get big air or anything, I'm gonna be doing technical stuff. I pretty much got the 2-wheel stuff down to a science. So I mean, if I can't be doing anything else, I'm just gonna do that all day long. But the arenas are definitely something to get used to. There's a lot of tight places we went. DC in particular, a place that pops up in my head. I mean, that place they leave the dashers up and it's super small. But I mean, at the end of the day, it just comes down to knowing where you're at and being careful and smart at the same time. I mean, you look at Weston. I mean, he goes out there and hits everything wide open, but he's controlled and he doesn't really do any damage to the buildings or anything. I mean, his truck might be torn up, but as long as he's not doing building damage, it doesn't really matter. You can go out there, in my opinion, and lay down awesome runs and run as hard as you want. It just comes down to knowing where you're at and being controlled and being safe at the end of the day.
Man, it's awesome talking to you and catching up with you. I think it was a few years back that we talked to you. And now you have your own path to go on and hopefully see you down the road.
Yeah, it was awesome being on here the last time. And it was kind of the same situation where you had just popped in and said something to me. And I'm like, yeah, I'll definitely come on. It's always fun talking with you guys.
I've been on the road for the last 4 weeks that I completely brain farted on inviting people. You were on the list anyway because I've been following the Facebook stories and stuff like that and what's going on. And I was just like, I'll shoot the text him and see if he wants to be on. And yeah, sure. What the hell? I'm like, okay, cool. So, thank you again. And like I said, I'll see you down the road, either lining up against you or having another time seeing you at the show. So you take care. And like I said, I'll see you down the road.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you again for allowing me to be on here. It was a great time.
Oh, man. Cool deal. Well, I'll catch you later.
Yep. See you.
Well, that was Ceejay Rettew. And fans, like I said, Kelly Kent, the Frostbite. It's actually going to be the third member of Team Send It. She'll be on next week. So the polar bear, awesome polar bear monster truck will be on next week on Crush This. So Brad, feel better, talk to your friends, give them a call, and check up on them and everything you do. Donate blood, buddy Matt Schultz, very big deal on that. And also it's still cold. Some people, it was snowing somewhere, a couple places. And even bring dogs, cats, bring your pets in. They need love too if you own them. But like I said, thank you again to J Concepts and everything they have done. And once again, guys, I'm Dan Ceejay Rettew, Batch Brown Shaw. I think what he says, tire down, hood up. There's a rubber side down. Something to do with the cab. The women don't find you handsome, they sure find you handy. No. Keep your stick on the ice. Man. Keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up. Peace.